to Santa Barbara, California. I'm Rob Schmitt. Welcome to the Young America Foundation's Reagan Ranch Center. We are here in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. It's nice to be on the West Coast, despite the politics, and we are here with a live audience. You can see around me. It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. So this is a very special place, the Reagan Ranch. It's an incredible place, the Reagan Ranch Center here in Santa Barbara. Incredible history about our 40th president of the United States, who, of course, remains an icon in conservative politics. I myself learned a lot about the former president over the last couple of days. I was born in 1983, right in the middle of it. I certainly benefited from the Reagan economy, I can tell you that. My parents to this day talk about how great the times were in the 1980s in this country. And we're joined tonight by another governor, as of course Ronald Reagan was governor of California, another governor of this country that has a lot in common with the former President Reagan, and that is South Dakota's Governor Kristi Noem. And for those who aren't familiar, here is a quick primer on her.
South Dakota's Kristi Noem began her political career as a state representative in 2006. She began building a public life founded on two personal principles: family and faith. The values installed in her as a child guide her vision today, making South Dakota a place where families can thrive. The nation began to notice the governor when she fought back against shutdowns.
But not everyone has followed this path. For those of you who don't know, South Dakota is the only state in America that never ordered a single business or church to close.
It's a stance the mainstream media called controversial and worse. It was only later, when the rest of the country saw the horrific effects of shutdowns, did she gain the admiration and praise she deserved. Now firmly in the national spotlight, Governor Noem used her newfound fame to showcase her home state, introducing South Dakota and all of its charms and freedoms to the world.
Our quality of life is unmatched, and we're surrounded by some of the world's most spectacular scenery. If you like what you see, if you value our approach to reducing government and increasing personal freedom, we'd love to have you come join us.
A freedom fighter, a tax cutter, a vision for the future. Kristi Noem has put her state and herself on the map.
And with that, let's bring in the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Great to be with you. Hi.
Go ahead and have a seat.
Yes, absolutely.
It's good to see you.
Oh, it's great to be here.
Nice
Thank
place,
you for
right?
inviting me to do this. This is going to be fun. Are you all looking forward to it? Yeah, I am too.
We got a great crowd here. And it's great to see you. And like you, this is your first time to the Reagan Ranch.
It is. You know, it's been really impactful. I grew up always admiring Ronald Reagan. You could look at his face and know that he was doing that job for the right reason. He loved people. And just to be here and see how he was in this powerful position, yet he lived such a humble life when he was most relaxed and in doing what he really loved to do.
Yeah, I think that perfectly explains it. And he had, like you said, all the right reasons to do it. When you have somebody that comes from the outside that doesn't have this political agenda they've been working on for 30 years, hasn't done favors for everybody in the world, that they're going to get paid back. You just get a different kind of leader. And I think we learned that in 2016 as well.
Well, and I think right now we need to remember his optimism.
Yeah.
You know, he spoke more about what he loved about this country than the challenges that we faced. And if you remember, he was pushing back consistently on communism, people that were trying to destroy the idea and the magic of America and what it was doing for people by creating opportunity. And he gave us hope. And I think that right now, focusing on a leader like Ronald Reagan is what a lot of people and citizens of this country really do need.
That's right. And you know, one of my favorite parts about that presidency, of course, was the 1981 tax cuts.
Yes.
He was a big tax cutter. That was a massive tax cut, and it reformed our economy in major ways. He brought the top tax bracket from 70%, eventually got down to 28%. You want to talk about a tax cut, that's a tax cut. Capital gains, other taxes came down as well. It was a tax that actually inspired you to get into politics, the fury that you had over a certain tax. Tell us about that story.
Well, I think a lot of people have heard my personal story, but I just grew up dreaming of being a farmer and a rancher like my dad. You know, he was a cowboy and my best friend, and that's what I was going to do when I finished college. But he was killed when I was still going to school, and it devastated our family. I ended up coming home and becoming the general manager of the operation, but we got hit within a few months, got a letter from the IRS that said we owed death taxes. Now, we were like a lot of ranchers and farmers. We had a lot of land and machinery and cattle, but we didn't have any money in the bank. And I could not figure out how we have this tragedy in our family, and all of a sudden the federal government says that we owe them hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that we couldn't pay. In fact, it threatened taking away our family business that had been in our family for generations. So, you know, I had been raised in a family that said, you don't complain about things, you fix them. So I started showing up. I just started going to meetings, being passionate about tax reform, and talking about the need to reform it to help more families and small businesses, and that's really how I first started to get involved in government.
And you talk about how that's a double tax. I mean, this is money that's already been taxed, that you built your life with, that you built your farm with, and then they come back in and then they want more. I mean, that's got to be infuriating.
Yeah, it's the only place in our tax code we double tax someone. And you know, a lot of times you hear liberals sell it as a tax on the rich and on the wealthy. Well, we certainly had assets, but we didn't, but it had been assets that our family had had for generations, and frankly, we had to use them to operate every year. It was just a part of how farming and ranching is. High risk every single year. Didn't necessarily mean that we were rich and that we just had money to hand over to the federal government.
Yeah, it's not an attack on the rich, it's an attack on anybody that started a business in this country.
If we had had a gas station, if that had been our family business, the only way I could have paid those taxes would be to sell the family business. That's the only way I could have. Luckily for us, we had land and we could mortgage land, and we relied on some friends that had money that loaned us money too. So I couldn't even find a banker that would finance the entire amount. We had to be very creative, and it took me 10 years in our family, 10 years to pay off those taxes.
And it brought you here. It made you the governor of South Dakota. So I guess in some ways it was a benefit that it happened. You had to go through something, but it brought you to somewhere where you can make a difference. So.
Well, what we need in this country is more people to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer that I'm the one who has to be there serving in a different position to make the right decisions. I think we've got a lot of people right now that are questioning what's going on in the government, and they need to look inside and say, do I need to run for something? Do I need to run for a school board? Do I need to run for city council? Because we need people to show up that really do love this country and want to make sure it's still there for our kids.
Absolutely. You talk about the importance of faith in your life. You lose your father at 22 years old. I'm sure it really kicked in there.
Oh, you know, our faith is everything. We love the Lord, and you know, we were in church every time the doors were open, and we were there as a family. So that really is the foundation of how my husband and I and our kids, you know, get through every day, especially in the divisive political environment that's going on in this world today. I don't know how people do it without a reliance on faith, because everything's bigger than ourselves, and it has a purpose and a reason, and my job is just to be obedient.
When you look at the ranch here, the beautiful Reagan Ranch is about 45 minutes away from where we are right now. What really struck me is you have this man that's a movie star that becomes a governor, that becomes a president of the United States, and we talked about it a little bit, but just had this very, very humble, natural life. You know, he just wanted to be out there on the ranch. He loved to work on that fence around the house. He liked to get his hands dirty. Fences, I couldn't imagine building that. I can't imagine how much that took.
Sorry, I am a rancher. I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time looking at that fence, thinking, how did he do that? And that they had his own chainsaws. And I was like, I remember my life changed the day I got a chainsaw. I was like, I walked around going, I can do anything. Like, if I got a chainsaw, that's fantastic.
It is cool when you fire one of those things up. You're like, oh yeah, could take over the world with this thing. But I mean, just the humility of that life. The fact that, I mean, I love that. He had the pinnacle of everything. The President of the United States, a movie star, and what he really wanted to do was just take care of his house. That's the American dream. Own your own home, just have your family. It's so simple, isn't it, even for people like him?
We talked a little bit yesterday about that. Working with your hands does something for your soul. And we have to remember we were created to serve people and to work and to do work, and that you really do find your purpose when you're spending time doing that. And also, he loved horses, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. So we there's a lot of Ronald Reagan that I can relate to, and I appreciate about him, and I just appreciate the fact that he cast a vision for this country, because I do believe that without a vision, people perish. And that we need to have leaders that, again, remember where we're going, not just what's happening in this day and age. And, you watch too much of the news and you watch too many pundits talking consistently, you lose perspective. I think that's the biggest problem in this country right now, is we're addicted to being offended by each other. We love to be offended, and we get all tied up in that, and we completely lose perspective of how blessed we are in the United States of America. We woke up this morning here in the greatest country in the world, and it still is.